Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. And just want to know this event has been broadcast to anyone that actually wants to join us. So if there are individuals joining us via YouTube at this point, I heard that some folks from New York are following us as well. So we welcome you and thank you for joining us in this wonderful Utah Valley University campus. On my right side, I have Mr. Mark Reynolds, Student Body President here at Utah Valley University, and also great associate on this venture that we're working on. And also Annie Davis from the Mayor's Office, the Salt Lake City Mayor's Office. She's going to talk about the Director of Economic, there's no director, but I mean, she works in the Office of Economic Development at the City of Salt Lake. And this is a great honor. My name is Baldomero Lago. I am the Chief International Officer here at the Utah Valley University. And it is with great honor that I'm able to present to you, joint presentation, hopefully, this wonderful event that is going to take place on August 26th through 28th here in the state of, actually in Salt Lake City. Let me give you just kind of a brief overview of what has taken place. And we just held another town hall meeting at Thanksgiving Point, primarily directed to the NGOs, those are the non-government organizations throughout the community. We had around 40 to 50 NGOs that actually came to that event last Thursday, and they're already being very committed. There's other individuals that have expressed interest in participating at this worldwide event. We decided to bring the UVU community into this conversation because at the end of the day, this is a coalition between the City of Salt Lake, Utah Valley University, working together with our civil society. And the conference is known as the United Nations Civil Society Conference. This is once a year, it will be the 68th edition, and it's a worldwide event that will take place in Salt Lake. This became a dream, I would say, a couple of years ago. Through my office, the Office of Global Engagement here at Utah Valley University, we became affiliated with the United Nations through the Department of what it used to be known as the Department of Public Information, currently is known as the Department of Global Communication. That name changed actually on January 1st this year. So we are affiliated with them. We are able to work through their office and allow our students and faculty to present research, to work directly at the UN with UN officials at the UN Forum. Last year we took 26 students from UVU, and they were able to present some of the research of the Commission Status for Women. In December, 2 of our students, Andrew Jensen and Samuel Singa, participated in the International Mountain Forum at the United Nations by the invitation of multiple governments, including Canada, Andorra, Italy, and some other nations. They were invited. There were all these member states, there were all these nations presenting proposals on international mountain, and all of a sudden, 2 students from UVU. Okay? So the setup was beautiful to see that, right? All these member states and 2 students. It was great. So we have been able to be very well connected with the UN, and we have been able to host for many years dignitaries from the United Nations here on campus. We have also hosted officials from the UN, and we'll continue to do so. The idea came a while ago back to present a proposal to the United Nations to bring the conference, the worldwide conference, to the city of Salt Lake. There was a lot of paperwork that had to be done, as you can imagine, because we were making history. And here's the issue. We were making history because it was going to be the very first conference ever in the history of the United Nations since 1944 that has taken place outside New York headquarters, but in the United States. This conference has actually been conducted outside the United States, in the city of Paris and Mexico City and Seoul, South Korea, but has never been conducted outside the New York headquarters. So it was totally a new revolution, a new change for the dynamics and mechanics of the conference, and we were able to get it approved. Of course, through the legal affairs of the United Nations, through the support of the United States mission to the United Nations, and all the documentations that follow through, and of course the support of the Office of the Department of Public Information, we made history. And back in August last year, I had the great opportunity to accompany Mayor Jackie Biskupski. Actually, Annie also joined us at that event, as well as other leaders from our own community, from Salt Lake, to be able to bid on a process to say, hey, we would love to host this event. It comes out that by the end of the conference, we were celebrating because the United Nations awarded us the opportunity to host this event. Again, it happened because of Utah Valley University's initiatives with the United Nations, working in collaboration with Mayor Jackie Biskupski, a mayor who has an incredible vision when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to bringing the community together, to talk about the reality of our needs, and to make sure that our cities and our communities are reliable, are resilient, are safe, are inclusive, as well as are sustainable. Those were the main topics of our conversation. Well, we celebrated the initiation of the beginning of setting up the conference. What has happened since August 2018? Let me give you a chain of events so you know what has taken place. On September 20th of 2018, we had the very first United Nations Town Hall meeting in New York. We participated, Annie and I, we actually participated via Skype with the folks in New York, and there's a lot of interest coming at the worldwide stage, right? At that point, there was a lot of comments as to, well, why Salt Lake City? What is Utah going to bring into this conversation? What are they doing? So we had a lot of educating to do to the global community, all right? And it went well, it went beautifully. And there was a lot of excitement coming from the United Nations that this event is taking place here in Utah. On October 24th through 26th, we hosted Jeff Brest, Mr. Jeff Brest, Chief of the Office of the Department of Public Information, now Department of Global Communication, and also another official from the United Nations, Mr. Felipe Capo. Both of them visited under the invitation of Utah Valley University. They came to the state of Utah and they visited with the city officials, the city mayor, as well as some of our community leaders. On the following day, on October 27th, we held an NGO conference here on campus. Over 100 NGOs actually participated at that event, and we had both Felipe Capo as well as Jeff Brest present at this conference, as well as other NGOs through the community. On November 27th and 28th, this was the very first technical mission coming from the United Nations to the city of Salt Lake. And they were led by the director of the Outreach Division of the United Nations, Mr. Maher Nasser, as well as, again, our colleague, Mr. Felipe Capo. On December 13th, we had a second United Nations Town Hall meeting that was led also by Mr. Maher Nasser, the director of Outreach Division of the UN, and we were also invited to participate. And at that time, there were primarily the UN folks, as well as NGOs and youth committees from the United Nations in New York that participated in this event. And at that time, they were able to communicate or express what not only the theme of the conference was going to be, but also what were the content of the content. And again, of the conference. They were started to brainstorm ideas of, okay, what are we going to do with this event? On November 28th, we had a major event at the city of Salt Lake. We had a press conference. You see my colleague Annie Davis there leading the conversation. And as you look at this picture, on your right, you see Ambassador John Price from our community supporting this event. Next to him, Mayor Jackie Biskupski from the city of Salt Lake. Behind Annie, you will see Mr. Artmeg Corbett, representing the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. To his left, Mr. Maher Nasser from the United Nations, and to his left, Mr. Franz Kolb from the Governor's Office. So we have a great partnership with our own communities, with the city, with the Governor's Office. Since then, since the beginning of the year, the United Nations has been trying to come up with a visual. What is the logo going to be for this conference? Again, this is just a draft at this point. It's not the official logo. We will be broadcasting the logo through our media, our visuals, our websites, and so forth. But this is something what it's going to look like. The theme of the conference is building inclusive and sustainable communities. Again, as you can see, probably the silhouette of the city of Salt Lake. Okay? As you can see, there's this circle with all these different colors. And some of you have already asked me, what is that circle that you're wearing in your lapel? If you look right behind, it represents the 17 goals known as the Sustainable Development Goals. And you can see what the 17 goals are. From no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality of education, gender equality. Those goals were established by the United Nations in 2015. Under the agreement of the 193 member states of the United Nations, they all decided that by 2030, that's our goal, that's the agenda, we should improve the quality of our communities, our quality of our own life, and the quality of the entire world. So all member states, all nations around this world, they have committed themselves somehow through their ministry, through their governments, through their civil society to support these initiatives and these goals. This conference particularly concentrates on goal number 11. As you can see, goal number 11 is right there. Or in Chinese, I could tell you, is Sustainable Development Cities and Communities. Okay? That is the idea. Actually, the title is a little more complicated. It's Sustainable, Inclusive, Resilient, Safe, Sustainable Cities and Communities. That is the title of that. And under that goal, there is multiple concepts or objectives that communities at large have decided to support, right? Okay, so with that in mind, the United Nations has placed this conference on an annual basis to discuss these topics as civil society, or as even as government agencies, right? To come together, to have a voice, to express our opinion of what this is all about. More than 100 nations will participate at this conference. We have a capacity of 5,000 individuals. The event will take place at Salt Palace, or the old Salt Lake, or today, the old Salt Palace, today Salt Lake Convention Center, right? This will be a venue where a lot of individuals, folks from all different kinds of world, from different walks of life will be able to come to Utah and participate in this event. You will see government officials, dignitaries coming from different directions, companies, those that are promoting sustainability in their own industries, technology folks will be coming and express this is what we're doing to improve the quality of our own communities, right? But this is a civil society conference. Please let us remember that. This is not driven by a government. This is not driven by our own government or by any mayor. This is driven by the voice of the people. We, the people, that is the Declaration of the Human Rights as well as the purpose or the United Nations Charter. Now, how is this conference divided? Or how is this conference structured? Let me tell you briefly how this conference is going to work. There is a conference board. The conference board is primarily at the United Nations, where there are some executives and some leaders that actually, at the end, this is a United Nations conference by the people, right? So we are looking for the direction and their guidance as well. So individuals like Maher Nasser, Jeff Bress, Felipe Cabo, Howard Diallo, individuals from the United Nations will participate very actively in looking at that this conference actually fits the purpose of the conference. So they are our mentors that are guiding us through this whole thing. Then there is a conference planning committee in New York. The New York Planning Committee represents not only the New York entities, but also the global entity. There's a lot of NGOs that are globally based. They are represented at the United Nations, okay? Or they're affiliated to the UN. And of course, there will be a conference planning committee. They will have a voice because this is a worldwide conference. They will have a voice. And then we'll have the host committee, right? So we have the United Nations, the Conference Planning Committee at the actually based in New York, and the Planning Committee based in Utah or in Salt Lake City. And that's what we call the host committee. So let me give you an idea of what the host committee looks like. The United Nations, now known as the Civil Society Conference, host city executive board is chaired by the mayor, Mayor Jackie Biskupski, and then we have an executive board. I call it the executive board. That is just the three of us, Annie, our colleague Ben Collender, and myself, that we actually kind of put the thing moving in motion for this event. We have three co-chairs for this conference. one that handles all the logistics. His name is Mr. Scott Beck. Scott Beck is the CEO of Visit Salt Lake. He also oversees the Salt Lake Palace. Okay? So he will handle all the logistics for the event, right? The structure, the infrastructure, communication. Well, when we talk about communications within the city, you know, security and so forth. We have a finance committee. This conference requires some funding. And you know, we are doing our best to be able to secure funding for this event. Okay, with such a mass population and such, I mean, this size and shape of this conference, it requires a lot of infrastructure, logistics, and funds behind that. So Ms. Chris Redgrove, that she actually works, she's the spokesperson PR for Science Bank. She is the co-chair of the Finance Committee. You probably have recognized her name, Chris Redgrove, from Speaking on Business. She has the KSL's air show twice a day, and that's Chris. And from communication, all the marketing, all the PR, that's going to be done by Tom Love. Love Communications is a great organization here throughout our community. And then there are board members. They actually have decided, or they have expressed desire to participate. And some of the individuals you probably can see in the slide, but they are leaders from our own community, from all walks of life, from NGOs to government to business to financial industries, whatever it is. Everyone wants to support this initiative. And this is what we are feeling at the City Council, or at the City Office in Salt Lake, that there's all these wonderful individuals that come to us and say, hey, what can I do? How can I support, right? That is just the host planning committee for the infrastructure. But you cannot run a conference without content, right? I mean, yes, I can establish the logistics, I can do A, B, and C, but what do we do as far as the content? What are we going to talk about this conference? We know that the theme is building inclusive and sustainable communities, but how is that going to unfold? And you're having 5,000 people? How is the structure of the conference? Well, we'll be having plenary sessions, we're going to have workshops, we're going to have all sorts of different aspects. There's going to be a cultural thing, cultural activities and so forth within the conference, right? And in order for us to be able to do that, since this is a civil society conference, and this is a conference that is run by the people, we need support, we need help. So we have had some town hall meetings in New York to ask for help. We have had a town hall meeting last Thursday at Thanksgiving Point to ask for our community to be part of this. Today we're having this community. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Ben Colliner and I, we will be at Channel 4 in the news, asking the community, would you like to participate in this UN conference? Please, let me tell you what to do. So this is our event, and we're here to put it together. As you look at this diagram, the way that I organize this is we have two committees, somehow. One what I call the UVU Planning Committee, and the other one is what I call the Host NGO Planning Committee. Both of them is civil society. I want you to know that when it comes to UVU Planning Committee, I have colleagues from all the universities, both private and public. Each president of each university in this state has been invited to participate on a written letter by the mayor. On January 2nd, Mr. Mark Reynolds and I, with the mayor of Salt Lake, we visited with all the student body presidents for all the public and private universities throughout the state. So we need just to let them know that this is happening. This is going to come before too long. Why UVU Planning Committee? Because we work closely with the city. We are the driving force that actually is helping the city and helping the community to put this effort together. So that is so important that Utah Valley University plays a significant role in this event. Because after all, we started this conference. And I just hope that I can have the support from my own community here at UVU. I have sent 158 invitations just last Friday. I sent another 150 invitations just to members of the UVU community to participate at this event. And I will continue to extend invitations to other individuals, because when August comes and when the world is going to be looking at us, I hope that we have a good representation from UVU there. In addition to that, I want you to know that yes, the NGO community is extremely important and civil society, but as well as the youth community. I just hope that more than 40% of the attendees and the voice pertaining to this conference comes from the youth. Youth, according to the United Nations, equates to ages 18 through 32. And that concept of youth is a worldwide concept. In some cultures, 30 years old is still young. So for us, or for the United Nations, the concept of the UN is 18 through 32. We are organizing a youth committee, and I'm so grateful that our own student body president, Mark Reynolds, has been visiting with me, and we're working together to move our own community here on campus, and to energize not only our students at UVU, but students throughout the entire community, throughout the entire state. In addition to that, there are youth leaders that are involved in NGOs at this point. And they're coming forward and say, hey, what can I do? What can we do as an organization? So there's going to be a large conversation when it comes to a youth, with a youth agenda. In New York, there's also youth committees. So the youth committees in New York will work closely with the youth committees in the state of Utah. And they will come up with a very strong agenda for this conference. Folks, I hope you understand the importance and the relevance of this event. We will have to present a concept note to the United Nations. I've already seen a draft. And we'll be working together on a draft. We'll be working with the youth on a draft for a concept note. A concept note, what it means is we go to the United Nations and say, this is what we would like to accomplish. This is the objectives. This is what we want to obtain and seek after this event. That's our goal. That's the concept note. At the end of the conference, the youth will make a resolution. The civil society will make a proclamation. And those resolutions, or what we call the outcome documents or the deliverables, will be presented for a vote as a civil society. This conference will make an impact, not only in our communities, not only in the United States, but also throughout the world. Why? 28 days later, after the Salt Lake Conference, there's the World Conference on Climate Change. And that conference is going to be spearheaded by the Secretary General, Mr. Guterres. All member states, the 183, will participate in that climate change conference. Think about in September, a week after, will be the General Assembly of the United Nations. The outcome documents provided by Salt Lake City at this conference will be presented for deliberation in all member states. Our voice will be heard when it comes to global engagement or global understanding. So that's why it's so important and critical that we participate in this event, that we have a voice, that we present what we feel in regards to sustainability. Do we really want to live in a better world that we have today for our future children, grandchildren, and so forth? So the question that now you probably are thinking is, well, how do I get involved? Well, this is how you get involved. There are two ways to do this. You can send me an email at uvun@uvu.edu and say, let me know what I can do. You can actually go into our website at uvu.edu/global. I think this email will be much easier. After the last town hall meeting that evening, I just sent a bunch of emails to a lot of people and say, here's the link. Or you can just copy this link, which I probably don't recommend, because this is a very long link, as you can imagine. But if you open the link, it's going to lead you to a Google Docs document that would allow you to, can you see it okay? Can you see the document? You cannot see it. That's strange. Okay. Why not? Okay. So what you do, this is the document, but it's not the full document, so maybe I may have to get out of here. Hold on for a second. Interesting, I could see on my computer. Can you see what's going on? Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. For a second. you make sure that if you're interested, you can join us somehow. Let's see if I can. There we go. Can you see this? Yes, okay, fine. So once you get that link, this is what will open up, right? And this is the call for co-chairs and members for the 68th United Nations Civil Society Conference, including subcommittees for Salt Lake City, Utah community. So what you do is you simply open this document. This is the link. By the way, and this is the most important thing, and that's why we are having a meeting today, the deadline to apply is January 19th. That's this Saturday. So if you want to be a member of the planning committee for this event, you need to apply by January 19th. The week after, we'll be making decisions on who is going to be working on what committee. The more applications, the better off, obviously. Maybe you can see this. All right, so we'll continue with the document. I'm going to walk you through. So it's pretty simple. You simply write your email address. Can you see that? Okay. Then your first name, last name. What is your age group? So, well, I'm between 18 and 32. That will be considered for the youth committee. I am older than 32. That will be for the general committee. Okay. Name of the organization you represent. Youth committee, I know we have a youth member, so you represent Utah Valley University. So if you belong to an NGO, you represent whatever NGO or civil society you represent. Are you located in Salt Lake City / Utah? People think it's Salt Lake City, Utah. No. Salt Lake City / Utah. Yes, all of you are located in Utah to my knowledge, okay? Unless you flew from somewhere just to be here today. You prefer a role. You can assign co-chair or member or both, whatever you want to do, okay? Then which subcommittee you would like to be a co-chair or member of? And we have the outcome document subcommittee, the roundtable discussions, the workshops, the exhibits, press and media, outreach and engagement, youth subcommittee, whatever committees you feel that, and I have the feeling that we're going to be creating a lot more subcommittees after that. Why do you wish to serve as a co-chair member or the selective planning subcommittee? Tell us a little bit about you, because when we get the application, we don't know who you are. So let us know who you are, right? And why. And please describe your experience that support your application to serve as a co-chair member, selective planning subcommittee. Once you submit this document, you click submit right there. You can send a copy of your response. Once you submit the document, it lands in New York at the United Nations. They'll review them and they'll email it to us. And hopefully by next Monday, or probably next Wednesday, we should have the list of all the individuals from the state of Utah that have applied to be part of the planning committee. Okay? Did I tell you that this conference is free to the public? You need to be aware of that. People think, oh my goodness, how much is this going to cost, this conference? No, this is our conference, civil society. The only thing you need to do is register. And we'll let you know when the registration opens. Probably is going to be around February. But we're going to have a cap, 7,500. We can only have 5,000 attendees. And that registration goes worldwide. So the moment that it fills in, bingo, we're done, right? So that's what you know. So let's go back again to the most critical part of this town hall meeting. And that is, okay, now you know how to get involved. And then let's talk about the most important part. And that is the theme or the topic of this conference. Again, it's building inclusive and sustainable communities. In a town hall meeting, what happens is I give a presentation of what the conference is going to be like, and then I hear from all of you on ideas, suggestions. What are the topics that we should be discussing at this conference? Now, let me give you a little bit of an understanding. We're doing a call for, no, we're not doing a quote unquote the call for papers right now. We're just simply saying, okay, this is our conference. What do we want to do? It's like when you invite your family for dinner. Okay, we just invited the family. Now, what are we going to eat? Right now, who's going to cook? Right? So that's what we're going to do. We're inviting everyone, but what are we going to do at this event? So this is the conversation that has already taken place in New York. We have actually gathered all the document, or actually all that information that took place in Thanksgiving Point last Thursday from our own community, which has added a lot to this conversation. Hopefully today we'll continue to add to the conversation. And by Tuesday, I'll be sending a document to the United Nations of our requests coming from our own community, that is our own voice. Because this voice is a global voice. This voice comes from New York. But I want to make sure that our voice is also heard and is also placed on this conference. So under Building Inclusive and Sustainable Communities, they develop 6 different themes. So let's briefly talk about these themes. Number 1, inclusivity or inclusive communities, right? Leave no one behind. That's theme number 1. That means that we'll have that conversation. What are we going to do in regards to the agency, the self-reliance? What about migration? What can we do as a society? I mean, let's stay out of the politics. What can we do as a society when it comes to migration? Right? What about drug addiction? What about the problem that we all face? All communities face the problem with homeless. How can we address that? And I know that Mayor Biskupski has been a champion on that end. What are we doing as a city? What can we do as a community, right? What about those individuals that are suffering through mental illness or they have disabilities, right? Theme number 2, climate change. Okay? I mean, hello, look where we live and look some of the effects of the environment. What about, are we resilient to disasters? Right? What about agriculture and food security? Right? And even agri-terrorism. That was one of the topics that was discussed. How can we protect our own agricultural resources that we have? What about health? And that health will be goal number 3, as you can see, good well-being. What about carbon emissions? What about lifestyles, role of consumers? Theme number 3, safe and peaceful societies. Right? Maybe we can talk about the legacy of World War II. Perhaps the 150th anniversary of Gandhi and his message. What about women at the table? Talk about peace, security, safe places, and so forth. Theme number 4 deals with the youth. And the theme for the youth will be presented by the youth. The youth will come to us and will say, well, hey, what about A, B, and C? And this is the great analogy when we talk about Brexit, right? Who is putting Brexit on the table? What are the youth thinking about Brexit? They're going to be stuck now to a situation that they have never had a voice. Well, for this conference, we want to make sure the youth have a voice, and they have always had a voice in this previous conference. And they'll be looking, and they will give us the chart. By the way, previous conferences are online. So if you want to see what has happened in the past, you can just simply Google the United Nations NGO conference. The 67th was actually in New York. The 66th was in Seoul, Korea. You can see what happened. You can see what the youth declarations, what they did, and how that has affected and mobilized the communities. Theme number 5, infrastructure and resource use. We're going to be talking about water. We're going to talk about mountains. We're going to talk about employment, education, training, education. Number 4, quality of education. Everyone should have access to good education. Theme number 6, using emerging technologies. And it's just interesting how we're working right with the Silicon Slopes right now. That will be part of this conversation too, right? Artificial intelligence, adopt new technologies, right? And so forth. These are the themes. And these are some of the topics that we have brought forth, right? Other areas, as you can see on the right column, in the white column, talk about mayors and cities. There will be a conference of mayors, especially those mayors that are working hard on sustainability. The mayor is calling nationwide as well as international for some mayors to come and to discuss this. And it's going to happen. What about family as a community, right? Faith-based family. Humanitarian is going, the humanitarian work is going to be one of the, what I consider one of the golden jewels of this conference. We have great humanitarian culture in this community. We have the great support from Catholic services to the LDS Church. Everyone is very well committed to this conference, and that will be reflected this event. Anything dealing with women and girls, big topics to discuss at this conference, right? Sports for peace and sustainable, we talk about mountains, sport for peace and sustainable development. The Olympics, we are a host city, right, for the Olympics. I just want you to know that the Olympic Committee is looking at us also because of this conference. This is a community that believes in global understanding, cultural awareness, promoting global excitement and interaction and building global communities. And I think Utah is notorious for that. The arts will play a significant role. You know, it's interesting. I had the opportunity to meet with Emma Redford from the Sundance Institute, Robert Redford's daughter, and the folks at Sundance. They're so excited to be part of this. And there will be screenings with Sundance during the conference. Folks, this is a great opportunity for the entire community to rally together. But again, this is not only Utah conference, this is a worldwide conference. So Utah, Colorado, Nevada, California, other states are going to come and join us, as well as the rest of the globe. So there will be side events, what we call side trips. There will be other activities that will take place. So now, and this is the most important part of this conference, of this town hall, maybe we can take 20 minutes, half, whatever time we need. But the issue is, this is your time. The floor is yours. So I have asked my colleague, Amy Barnett, she's in the back. She will be taking notes of all your comments, suggestions. Say, hey, why don't we talk about this? I would love to discuss this topic. Have you ever thought about A, B, and C? Whatever you folks want to bring to the table. This is an open forum. And we're more than welcome to take any of your comments, questions, suggestions, and we'll write those up and we'll present it to the General Committee. But before I give you the floor, I want to make sure that Annie and Mark have the opportunity to share their thoughts. I mean, I brought you here and I keep you quiet. So, Annie, any comments coming from the City of Salt Lake?
Yeah, you know, I just want to thank you all for being here. I cannot echo enough everything that Baldomero has said. I do want to give him a lot of credit because this conference and the fact that it's coming to Utah and Salt Lake City would really not have happened if it wasn't for his leadership and his vision as well. So I want to put that out there. Baldomero, thank you for being such a great partner. There are a lot of people involved at the city level. Mayor Biskupski is extremely excited for this conference, and I know that she would want me to pass along her enthusiasm and her excitement for this. And we talk a lot about the fact that this is historic. Baldomero touched on that. And the fact that once again, Salt Lake City is going to be placed on this international, this global stage, I think really speaks to the testament of the incredible work ethic and attitude and partnership and this mentality of working together to get things done. I know that oftentimes Salt Lake City and Utah, you know, oftentimes is considered this underdog, and we continue to prove time and again with the first Olympics, now with this UN, and I'll put it out there, our second Olympics. We just continue to, you know, break barriers, break ceilings, show that we are, although we can be small, we're very mighty. So from the city's perspective, we're very excited that this is happening, and I want to thank you for the time to allow me to be here to answer any questions and speak on behalf of the city. But yeah, we're excited. This is, I joke that this really is our first rodeo, if you will. So, you know, we're working out a lot of the kinks, and we're learning as we go. So be patient with us. But we are continuing to staff up, actually. In fact, we've hired someone to join our team for the city to what we call sort of air traffic control, so that we keep this moving forward in the right direction. So we are putting resources behind this, and you all have the city's full support moving forward.
Thank you, Annie. Mark?
Like Baldomero said, the student body presidents of all private and public higher education institutions in Utah. We meet on a monthly basis already, and the mayor, Annie, and the rest of the team, as well as Baldomero, were nice enough to visit us at the beginning of the month. And simply put, we are very excited. There was a buzz in the room, I think, when the mayor was able to speak to the students. And I think one thing that Utah students, especially here that are studying here in the state, they just want to get their hands in and work and help. So we already have a great collection of students here at UVU that are willing to help. Lots of great opportunities for our students, and that's really what we love at UVU, but also the other institutions are on board, and it's exciting because the representation in that room at that meeting was, over 100,000 students represented in the totality of the institution. So that's a big potential for a lot of youth involvement in the conference.
Great, thank you. So now the time is yours to ask any questions, and we'll just take notes, and we'll compile the document. Any information that you want to provide that would be helpful. So yes, let's start with you.
My name is Nicolene Peck, and I'm president of the Worldwide Organization for Women. We actually do have consultative status at the United Nations, and we're here in Utah. So we're very excited about this. We feel like this is a great move for Utah. We're thrilled with it coming. Somehow I was not on your list for the other event that just happened, so we need to make sure that happens.
Sure.
That I get on your list. But as I was looking through your different themes, and I was thinking about my organization and who in my organization might be coming. So we have around 6,000 members around the world of my particular organization. We have people in Pakistan, a lot of people in Africa, as well as like Australia, United States, places like that. But we have a heavy contingent that is in Africa. And a lot of those ladies come and join us at the UN for various conferences, usually the CSW conference each year. Anyway, and I was thinking about some of their issues, and I was thinking about these themes. And I was so happy to see family listed over on the right-hand side, because in a way, I feel like with what these ladies are dealing with, it goes with almost everything, is what I was looking. So I just wanted to, for food for thought for you, and hopefully I get to help with some of the organization with the breadth of knowledge and the experience that I have. I'm hoping to. I already went in and signed up for that. So, but I just wanted to share a couple of issues that I'm not sure globally that get a ton of a voice, that might be something that maybe we need to keep in mind as issues facing the world related to the SDGs. So, for instance, one of them that's probably commonly known as a problem is inheritance rights for women in countries like Africa and some Islamic countries as well, such as Pakistan. But we have women who are part of our organization who were not included in their communities and in their tribes because their husbands died. And that is a huge thing. Their finances taken away, stuff like that. And it really does go back to what is happening in their family structures. But another thing that has been a recent thing on the horizon, and I think this comes with the technological age that we have seen, is we have seen when one of my board members, who happens to be a chiefess, she was the first chiefess in Nigeria ever, when she was in her area just a little while back, there were multiple women who kept camping out on her doorstep, older women. She would take them in and care for them. And come to find out that these women, and it's an epidemic around her country, are not being cared for by the younger generation. That they're so into their online images and their online world and stuff and technology that they don't even care about the elderly, and they don't have systems in place place to financially care for the elderly, and so it's always been a community thing that happens. Well, there's these old people that are literally dying on the streets because the youth are so wrapped up in their drive for pop culture and stuff that they're not caring for the elderly. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, there's these problems that, and I'm like, oh, that fits in this thing, and this thing, and this thing. But, and then another one is just, we run a lot of work through people who take care of orphans and children that are abandoned and stuff, and oftentimes it's because of bad lifestyle choices, right? Because their parents are engaging in risky behaviors and risky lifestyle choices. And I'm just hoping, because all those things to me go back to trying to get people to see our whole communities depend upon what happens inside each home.
Right.
And so I'm just excited about that. I would love to know how it's going to be integrated in. That kind of stuff would be interesting to me. Maybe as we go on I find out. But I just wanted to share a couple of those things that we've seen that we have a concern about in our women's organization.
That's great. Thank you. And believe me, within this community, family is going to be, I can tell you. In fact, one of the comments that I heard the last town hall meeting was, well, are we going to talk about family history? You know, when we talk about sustainable communities, family is a community, right? And can we talk about our heritage? And I think everything is interconnected, right? So I look at the representative of the Church of Jesus Christ and I said, do you think we can do that? So there's a great variety, there's a great momentum in this community when it comes to family history, right? And I think there will be another opportunity to showcase not only what we do here in the state, but also how we can, you know, bring our families together. So yeah, by all means, great. But another question, yes?
Mine is coming from someone that I don't deal much with global type issues, but I would love to be a part of it.
Yes.
And what kind of things would you want for help in the planning side of this or committee involvement?
Correct. That is a great question. At this point, as let me walk you through the stages real brief. We are doing all the infrastructure, all the logistics. As the finance chair always reminds us, right? If we don't have the finances, we're not going to have an event. So we have to do the infrastructure. Everything is moving along right on target. Believe me, we are very excited how the support, the great support from the community, the things that we're having, and you know, the calls, the emails that we receive, and the mayor receives as well. So one thing is set up the stage. Another thing is, okay, what are we going to talk about? And this is where we are right now. Okay, what do we want to cover? And that's what we have open forums, like this one in New York with the local community. New York actually does it live. Everything is broadcast. People can write, send emails, and so forth. And the same thing here. You can send an email to UVU, UNUVU at uvu.edu right now. And I'll be able to check the emails to see if anything has come, and I'll be able to read them to you. Okay, so all those things are happening. The moment that we know the topics and the themes, then we create the committees. Wow, but now we need to work on families. Okay, so who's going to be leading the initiative on family? I want to make sure that we cover arts. We're going to make sure we're going to cover water. We're going to do a parallel event on mountains. Who's going to do this, right? So we start calling for leaders within those committees. And the leaders would actually come to us, are going to say, well, I need help because I'm going to establish another subcommittee. When we talk about family, it could be family history, could be family inheritance, or exactly family relations. So maybe under one umbrella can be divided into subcommittees. So we're going to be needing more help to do that. Volunteers. We're going to have, and we know that this is the time for volunteering, right? So individuals that will be coming. This event is going to be at the South Palace. We have a huge capacity. Lots of people can come through the doors. There will be two main areas where one is called the Blue Zone. The Blue Zone is the one, the blue, thanks to the UN color, will be the ones that are actually registered. So you register, you get your pass to be able to come into the conference, and that's where you'll be able to participate, present, attend plenary sessions, the workshops, and so forth. But then there's going to be the exhibit area that anyone from the street can actually walk and see all the exhibits. So there's going to be a huge exhibit. At that point, yes, we'll have companies, corporations, entities, showcasing what they're doing for sustainability. There's going to be a big exhibit on humanitarian work. And I'm already working with the Humanitarian Center in Salt Lake to be able to do some relief kits, right? That people can actually walk in there and say, hey, I want to support. I want to set up a dental hygiene kit. I want to do a school kit so we can send them to country X or whatever location. So this is open to the entire community to be able to participate. So are we going to need some individuals to help? Absolutely, we will. And that's the call for this town hall meetings, the call that we're going to be doing through the media tomorrow through Channel 4. And as we move on, we're going to be developing more and more subcommittees until we start working. Just so you get an idea, the conference that took place in South Korea, in Seoul, there were around 3,800 attendees. Okay? There were 55 workshops during the 3-day conference, right? So I have the feeling that we're going to maybe double that those numbers, and there's going to be a lot of workshops and a lot of individuals. We'll have call for papers. We'll be asking for nominations. We'll be inviting individuals to come. And I know there's a great community. There's a lot of interest from many different sectors. The United Nations has the Messengers of Peace. Individuals with great name, they're looking at this event, right? I mean, we were talking at the last meeting, who was Ray Charles? We talked about Leonardo DiCaprio, Angelina Jolie, some of those names. They participate at this type of events, right? And they'll probably come and present a message, as well as other individuals, not as well known, but also that they have a message to convey, right? So, yes, by all means, join us. Thank you.
Hi, yeah, I have a question. Have you reached out to the other universities? What is the dynamic like? Are they going to be involved? Or is this just primarily, UVU?
Thank you for asking that question. Let me give you also what has taken place at this point. The mayor sent a letter to all presidents of all universities. I have communicated with my counterparts, that means the chief global officers for every single university, both public and private. We will be having a meeting at the end of this month with all the chief global officers for all universities, right? The student body presidents have met for all the public and private universities. So this is the way. But here we go. And this is what we all have to think. There's the call for individuals to participate, to be part of this conversation. You know, we can do as much as we can, but they need to take the initiative, right? If they don't take the initiative, what can we do? I mean, I cannot force anyone in this community, you need to do this. This is our voice, right? I mean,
So, like, from our end, could we network and, let's say, get involvement from other universities from the bottom up?
Sure.
Just
you know,
figure it out.
I'm a member of the board of directors for the university MIASH program, which is the Master of International Enterprise and Global Engagement. And I already work with some of the directors, some of the faculty, some of the students there. And they're excited. This is the University Graduate Program for International Affairs, okay? But I cannot reach out to all the university departments at the University of Utah. I wish the folks at Dixie, Southern Utah, and Snow, and the other ones, they know about it, but what are they doing? We hope they're doing something, because this is their theme, right? I mean, this is an invitation to, we're not imposing anything. We're just saying, do you have a voice? Do you care about sustainability? Do you care about water, and mountains, and families, and all those things? Well, come and tell us, so we can set up some parameters here. We need to excuse Annie, she has a meeting at the city bar. Yes, Donna.
Yeah, I just have 2 quick questions. One, can you clarify mountains as a theme?
Yes.
What about mountains?
Okay, who wants to talk about Chapul? You want to talk about what mountains means? Utah International Mountain Forum, right? Mhm. There's a great, and we have actually, we have had multiple events here on campus when it comes to mountain sustainability, promoting, mountains is everything. We get the water, the minerals, the resources. We have had a major conference here on campus called Women of the Mountains.
I knew about Women of the Mountains.
Yes.
But I think there may be some messaging that could help
Mhm.
those involved to
And again,
understand certain, like all the other themes we can understand, but studies we haven't, we live in mountainous areas, but we don't live with the sustainability issues that other mountainous areas live in.
correct.
So for local messaging, when we think of mountains, we think of skiing. So,
Yes,
right.
know that
If
industry.
they want a message that,
You know-
our wealthiest people live on mountains.
I was at a very important meeting yesterday talking to financial contributors and so forth. And they asked me, you need to explain to our community what an NGO is. So yeah, the fact that I write mountain, what does that mean? So when we talk about NGO, what is an NGO, right? So there's a lot of educating that we still have to do, but these are just the key themes. Yes?
So the last thing, or the second one is about emerging technologies.
Mhm.
And are you working with the Smart City Coalition or the Global Smart Cities Competition that happens in June? So there's a there's a global organization that does a Smart City competition for resilience and technologies and connecting smart cities, which is sustainable, resilient communities.
Mhm.
And they usually meet in June. And they have winners of that competition who might be really great participants. in
You know,
some of those
that sounds great. If you can just pass me that information. I know this came from New York. So and this is nationwide. So, but yes, any other way that we can feed that information to them. I know that the mayor is working hard to make sure that Silicon Slopes is part of this, and she's already talked to Climbits and some other individuals.
You may not know about this group. They're very
Sure.
emerging technologies, not software technologies. They're hardware technologies.
Technology is going to be part of the conversation. Most definitely. Yes. Great. Yes, question.
Sorry, has it been mentioned, and I missed the previous one we had this, this is kind of, just a religiously dense kind of area Utah is, and, has there been any discussion on, idea of like religious diversity or religious tolerance or things of that nature, and along with it, civil discourse, or dialogue kind of workshops, on how to talk about different difficult issues in a way that decreases polarization. I think that those would be really valuable, and I think that people are really interested in those topics. Really get a lot.
I wish Ellie Thompson would be here. She attended our last event. She is the main leader of the Interfaith, also the Reflection Center here at UVU. Oh yes, there's going to be a large program and orientation coming from all world religions, right? I mean, this is another topic of conversation that's going to happen, and we're mindful of that. And speaking of inclusivity, right? Inclusion. We're going to be debating this. In fact, look at the name of the conference: Building Inclusive and Sustainable Communities. And as you look at all the goals, they all fall under that topic. When you talk about no poverty, you talk about zero hunger, we talk about good health and well-being, quality, gender equality, right? We haven't talked much much about, but there will be a very strong program of gender equality. Clean water and sanitation. How can you build a sustainable city and community without clean water, right, or sanitation? Affordable clean energy. These things work in economic growth, right? I'm not going to get into politics today, especially with our own current situation here. Industry, innovation, infrastructure. I mean, everything is tied to building these communities, right? And, but yes, as far as interfaith approach and so forth, yes, that will be part of the conversation. Yes, Amy?
Just a comment on the fact that although this conference is happening in Utah, it is a global conference, so
Correct.
a world conference. I think that's going to be an opportunity for us to not only put some of our local things on the agenda, but always, we're going to have to keep that perspective of this is, yes, mountain issues matter, and this is why. Because there's this amount of population that is suffering from this, or homelessness matters because we may have a slight comprehension, but our representatives from India, our representatives from other parts of the world are going to have a totally different view, and this is an opportunity for NGOs that deal with homelessness issues to get together in a room and talk. Oh, there's already 5 people from the same country doing the exact same thing. Let's talk about this. And I think that we have to keep that perspective that it is a global conference, a worldwide conference held here in Utah. And it's going to have a slant, or it's going to have some things that maybe we wouldn't talk about. We went to the NGO conference in New York, and maybe those themes would be differently represented because of who's putting on the conference. But I just think that it's vital to always keep that perspective that we're representing, but we're also representing the entire world. So, in what we
Great.
do, the issues that come up.
Yes, Mark?
And that's a great point because it's a global conference being held here, and our community can benefit so much from the collective knowledge of everyone that's represented. I'm excited to see that part of the coin as well.
Great. Thank you. What else?
I actually have a question. Vincent as UVU review. Earlier you mentioned that, and apologize if I'm mistaken, but I think you said that you didn't contact a member of the Redford family in regards to Sundance being really on board with this. Do you have a list of local organizations or entities who have so far signed up to be a
Oh,
part of
yes.
this?
Oh, yes, there is a long list. You know, from United Way to Global Relief. I mean, I can provide you with a long list of individuals and organizations. Big Ocean Woman. What else? Global Relief is YWCA. Rotary. Rotary International is all over the map with this conference, right? Choice Humanitarian. I mean, there are like 100 of them. Do you know how many NGOs we have in the state of Utah? Over 6,000. Over 6,000 NGOs. And I have a database of over 700. There's not a database at the state level of all the NGOs. And here we are working on one, right? And those 700 NGOs have been contacted, right? So,
Is there a way we can support that database for you to grow that list?
sure.
And how do we do that?
Actually, right now it's posted online. Well, some of it needs to be updated, right? I can show you where that is. Yeah, most definitely. And I'm actually working with the Utah nonprofit organization. The president actually reached out to me and said, hey, let me know how I can help you. So, I mean, there's multiple avenues that I'm using right now, but yeah, we can do that. If I go into our website, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if you go into our website on uvu.edu global, can you see right here it says UVUN on the right corner, UVUN. If you click on it, you actually have the UVU Civil Society Town Hall meeting, and if you click on it, you even have you know what we're talking about, the YouTube access and so forth, right? So, and at one point in time, somewhere you have, where's the list? List of the Utah nonprofits. So if you click on here, This is not updated, but I think at this point we have over 500 here. Okay, so,
And if you know if anything is incorrect, just let us know so we can correct that and upgrade it.
great. What other questions we have? Yes, Angie. Sorry, Amy.
We're interchangeable sometimes.
I know.
With the arts, are you seeing both performances and workshops? Like, how are you seeing those being?
You know, I love, sorry, I'm just trying to see if we have any emails that have come through this, but at this point, I don't see any emails that have actually, all right, okay. Now, for example, let me give you a great example of two faculty members that are planning to do a showcase at this conference. Angie McClure and Amy right here, both teach dance at Utah Valley University. They're working with our community, they're working with our local public schools to develop, and they have actually done that, a wonderful showcase on how to teach sustainability, specifically on water, to the art form of dance. Think about that. What a beautiful way to connect with our youth. What a beautiful way to connect with our young ones, especially the high schools, that will be able to do that. So, remarkable. And at one point in time, we'll be asking for suggestions like this. What else would you like to see? Right? And, oh yeah, once we start developing the workshops, we'll be asking for your support. And that's why it's important that you folks take leadership on this event, because you can provide that insight. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
What is your idea for the overall conference? I know that you might have like an opening big event and then the workshops. Are you planning on any night events that are reaching out to everyone?
It's going to be 3 days full pack of events, from the morning till the evening. There will be plenary sessions. The main plenary session will happen on Monday. I don't know if I can do that publicly, but let me tell you that, for example, some of the individuals that will participate at the conference could be the governor, the Secretary General for the United Nations. He has been invited on his agenda, the Undersecretary General of the United Nations, the Director of Development of Outreach Division, some folks from the UN, some folks from the Governor's Office, of course the City Mayor. I've already told yesterday President Jimenez, I hope to be, you need to be there. I'm probably going to be asking you to represent UVU. I will be no speaking, but she will be happy speaking during that time. It is in the works right now that the Tabernacle Choir will be the music for the initial inaugural event. So this still in the works. They have said yes, but we still have a lot of months from here till August.
I've been thinking about it, and actually, I actually contacted a man who's in charge of a group of 150 youth who are headed to China to present a large presentation. And the theme is finding oneself and connecting to the world. But
Yeah.
he said, go ahead and mention it. Perhaps you would be interested in that kind of. What it is the Brigham Young University Young Ambassadors, the Cougars, the Cosmo. It's a large group. They're spending all this money preparing this big presentation. Why not invite them to do it for us?
But it has to start from them.
Right. Well, it would have to start from probably
They will have to,
the university.
just like we have connected with all universities, BYU has been very well connected. In fact, I had some emails exchanged with some of the folks at BYU. If all of a sudden the young ambassadors decide, hey, we want to do this, send the proposal, right? I can now go knock on everyone's doors. I know, for example, that during the main plenary sessions, there will be cultural events. So I know the mayor has great interest to have the living legends participate there. I would love to see our own UVU groups, right? To participate. I already talked to the dean, to the music department, maybe the orchestra, the choirs, whatever it is. But other universities can bring the same suggestions to the table. The issue is that on the 19th, on Saturday of this month, of this week actually, we close nominations. And then from that moment on, we'll be asking for suggestions like this one, right? So if individuals, for example, we need to have a representation of the Native American groups at this conference, right? So during the plenary sessions, we'll have something related to Native American. It could be through different entities, different groups, but I mean, that's going to happen, right? So, but again, we can suggest individuals, but they need to be promoters as well, right? So, yes, any more comments, questions? No? You have any questions, Danny?
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Oh, you'll talk afterwards. Okay. Great. So, I mean, if there are no any, that's what we have. I don't have any emails. So, what I want to do is simply close with the email that I showed you right at the beginning. Let me see if it's this one. Right? That this is our website. And again, if you want to join the effort, again, it's UVUN. Think about this, UVU at Utah Valley University Nation, I guess, or Utah Valley United Nations at uvu.edu. Just send me an email and say, hey, I want to be involved, and send me the link so I can fill it out. Okay? I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. I know that people are busy. I've already got quite a few individuals that told me, I apologize, I'm teaching a class, I don't want to be part of this. I don't know what the count has been through YouTube, of how many individuals have joined us, but the bottom line is that this is an open opportunity for anyone, and I just hope, and my goal is that when August comes, when August 26th comes, that I just don't want to hear anyone say to me, how come I didn't know about this? Okay, I mean, we've been working for we'll be working for almost over a year by then on this initiative. So, and you will hear it through the media. I think the strength of the media is going to happen probably during the summer. I'll continue to announce this event, but things will unfold, things will develop, and I think it's exciting. So, and I'm very grateful, honestly, to tell you that it is Utah Valley University who's leading the charge. And I hope that my university takes that responsibility as, yes, this is our program. It's not Baldomera's program. This is our program, right, that we want to be able to implement. So, and I thank Mark for his leadership and for the youth. I'm really excited to be able to work with the youth. And hey, let's build a better, sustainable community. Okay? Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.